Is this a case of mutual abuse? Or is it DARVO? If there's one thing that's clear in the Depp-Heard case, it's that not that much is clear. This story is overwhelmingly messy and complicated. There is compelling evidence that Depp acted violently towards Heard. In the UK trial, Heard submitted witness testimony, contemporaneous text messages, emails, and diary entries, and photographs of her bruises. Taken together, they demonstrated a clear pattern of abuse, most often when Depp was under the influence of drugs or alcohol. In order to fake them, Heard would have had to spend years plotting to besmirch Depp's name. He claims she did. While the details are too extensive to catalogue exhaustively in this article, here's a brief overview of some of the most discussed incidents in question. In June 2013, one of Heard's close female friends hugged her. According to Heard, Depp, drunk and high on mushrooms, flew into a rage, grabbed the woman's wrists and threatened to hurt her. He then allegedly trashed the cabin where he and Heard were staying, hit Heard, and threw glasses at her. Multiple witnesses agree that Depp certainly got angry and trashed the cabin, and discovery also yielded contemporaneous texts between Depp and the actor Paul Bettany in which they fantasized together about burning Heard as a witch. Let's drown her before we burn her. Depp texts at one point. I will fuck her burnt corpse afterwards to make sure she's dead. In March 2015, while in Australia, Heard says that Depp spent 3 days on a violent tear, during which she says he repeatedly assaulted her. Both Heard and Depp agree that the tip of Depp's finger was severed during this period. Depp says Heard threw a bottle at him and cut it off, while Heard says Depp cut it off himself from punching the wall and a plastic wall-mounted phone, and that he then used the injured finger to scrawl demeaning graffiti about Heard over a mirror and lampshade. Both Heard's sister and her friend Rocky Pennington testified that they saw her covered in bruises and cuts shortly after the incident in question, and that Heard told them then that Depp had attacked her. Texts show Depp's staff agreeing to say they didn't know how he lost the tip of his finger. I accept that she, Heard, was the victim of sustained and multiple assaults by Mr. Depp in Australia, wrote UK Judge Andrew Nicol in his judgment. It is a sign of the depth of his rage that he admitted scrawling graffiti in blood from his injured finger and then, when that was insufficient, dipping his badly injured finger in paint and continuing to write messages and other things. I accept her evidence of the nature of the assaults he committed against her. They must have been terrifying. I accept that Mr. Depp put her in fear of her life. There is also compelling evidence that Heard behaved violently towards Depp over the course of their relationship. Depp has made public audio recordings of conversations he had with Heard over the course of their relationship. In the recordings, which were first published by the Daily Mail shortly before the UK trial in January 2020, Heard refers to hitting Depp. She says, I'm sorry that I didn't hit you across the face in a proper slap, but I was hitting you, it was not punching you. Babe, you're not punched. I don't know what the motion of my actual hand was, but you're fine, I did not hurt you, I did not punch you, I was hitting you. Depp responds that I just couldn't take the idea of more physicality, more physical abuse on each other, warning. Heard that I'm scared to death, we are a fucking crime scene right now. Heard replies, I can't promise you I won't get physical again. God, I fucking sometimes get so mad I lose it. In another audio recording during a conversation about the Australia incident, Heard appears to mock the idea that Depp might position himself as a victim. "I lost a fucking finger, man," says Depp. "I had a can of mineral spirits thrown at my face." You can tell people it was a fair fight, and then see what the jury and judge thinks, Heard says. Tell the world, Johnny. Tell them, Johnny Depp, I, a man, I'm a victim, too, of domestic violence, it's a fair fight, and see how many people believe or side with you. In April 2022, Depp's team presented this recording at the trial in Fairfax during Depp's testimony. Depp's lawyer asked him how he responded when Heard proposed he tell the world he was a victim of domestic violence, and Depp replied, "I said, yes, I am." Depp's team is also leaning on the difference between Depp's reported history and Heard's. While Depp has previously been accused of property damage and verbal threats, he's never before been accused of the kind of violence Heard describes in her account, which previous girlfriends have described as uncharacteristic of him. Heard, however, does have some minor accusations of violence to account for. In 2009, Heard got into an argument at an airport with her then-girlfriend Tassia Van Ree. Police arrested Heard after she allegedly struck Van Ree's arm, but charges were never pressed. Van Ree has released a statement sticking by Heard, saying the incident was blown out of proportion and unchalking it up to what she describes as the cops' misogyny and homophobia. And Heard's former assistant, Kate James, testified in court this April that when she asked Heard for a pay raise, Heard spat in her face. Depp is also arguing that Heard hasn't actually donated her full divorce settlement to charity as she said she would. "I told you that one would come back." While Heard promised to give the ACLU $3.5 million, the ACLU has confirmed that she only donated $1.3 million, and that it believes at least $500,000 of that money came from Elon Musk, whom Heard briefly dated after her divorce from Depp. Depp's team seems to be trying to imply here that Heard does actually need some money, and that maybe that was her motive all along for going after Depp. So what do we do with these two competing narratives? On April 14, Depp's team called marriage counselor Laurel Anderson to the stand at the Fairfax trial. Anderson, who counseled Depp and Heard during their marriage, said she considered their dynamic to be one of mutual abuse. Anderson testified that she saw Heard bruised after altercations with Depp, and that Heard told her she had initiated physical fights with Depp on multiple occasions. She said she believed, but was not certain, that Depp had also initiated physical fights with Heard. Both Depp and Heard have said that they experienced physical abuse as children, and Anderson's theory is that their relationship pushed them back into toxic childhood patterns, with each abusing the other and neither one ultimately more responsible than the other. However, domestic violence experts describe the concept of mutual abuse as divisive. "I don't believe in mutual abuse. I don't believe that two parties decide to meet in the kitchen and box it out," Ruth Glenn, president and CEO of the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, told NBC News. Glenn argues that every altercation between two people has a primary aggressor, and that if the other party hits back in self-defense, that doesn't count as mutual abuse. Another concept from domestic violence research that may prove more useful to our understanding of this case is called DARVO. DARVO refers to a reaction perpetrators of wrongdoing, particularly sexual offenders, may display in response to being held accountable for their behavior, writes Jennifer J. Freyd, a professor emeritus of psychology at the University of Oregon. DARVO stands for deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. The perpetrator or offender may deny the behavior, attack the individual doing the confronting, and reverse the roles of victim and offender such that the perpetrator assumes the victim role and turns the true victim, or the whistleblower, into an alleged offender. In this case, both Depp and Heard claim that they are being falsely smeared as an abuser by the true abuser. If one of them is telling the truth, the other is engaging in classic DARVO. But which one? That may not be a question that can be answered to the satisfaction of a criminal court, beyond a shadow of a doubt. But here's what we do know. Johnny Depp is 23 years older than Amber Heard, exponentially more famous, and for most of their relationship, was much richer than she was. Neither one of them seems to have all that much liquid cash right now. Of the two of them, he was the one in the position to wield power. And in the UK, where it is extremely difficult to prove a case like this, a court has already found that Depp was most likely the perpetrator and aggressor. So if all that is the case, then why does it seem like so many people online are sure that Depp is an innocent victim and Heard is an abuser? Subscribe and watch part 3 of this video series.